Yeah, I remember once, a leader saying to me, is recruitment an action or a reaction? He said, it's a reaction. He said, you're putting together, incentive programs like recruitment is an action. You do this and then something follows. He's like, it's a reaction. People recruit as a consequence or a byproduct of the emotions that they feel.
Today I have the great privilege of talking to Ben Woodward. He's a British citizen based in Utah, USA. Ben is a 20-plus year direct selling executive with experience in global, regional, and local leadership in some of the largest companies in the industry. He also served on the DSA Board of Directors for the UK and on the European CEO Council. He has years of field experience as a top-ranking distributor. Ben is now the president and co-founder of an influence-driven e-commerce fashion brand. As a best-selling author, he continues to speak, consult, and work with other brands regularly in and out of the direct selling industry. Ben, welcome to my podcast. It's really great to have you here. Well, Ben, thank you very much for joining me. I'm super excited to be chatting to you today. I mean, you're a man with an epic pedigree, and everybody who knows you has been raving about you, and so I'm super excited to have you on board. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Richard. It's great to be with you.
Yes, well, I thought we could just kick off by you telling me a little bit about your history. You've been in this industry a while, and you've been doing some amazing things. So I'm very keen to hear about what you've been up to.
Sure. Yes, I've been in this space, for a very long time. I've worked with a couple of big companies. I was the general manager for Amway for the UK and Ireland. Also for a short period was also their business opportunity manager for their European region. That was a really interesting experience there because that was when we had that wonderful investigation with the Department of Trade and Industry in the UK where that gave crisis and opportunity to revitalize and to strengthen and to reevaluate and to challenge and all of those types of things, which was just an incredible experience. Grateful, of course, that we came out the other side, won the court case, and were victorious and made some real key kind of steps forward, I think, for the business and the industry. I've worked as well in Melaleuca. I've been on the board of directors for the DSA, the Direct Sales Association in the UK, and on the CEO Council for Saldia. I moved from Melaleuca, where I was the sales director for the European region, moved from there to Niken, and I worked there as sales director initially, then managing director for Europe, and then became global president.
What did Niken do?
Niken, perhaps most famously known for the magnetic technologies, but their whole product philosophy is around the wellness home. So providing products and technologies that help make the home environment better. So sleep products to improve sleep, water for hydration, air for the air that you breathe, and the magnetic technologies for when you're out and about and what have you there. So great experience there. Had an interesting kind of change in my career there where I moved from being president of the company to being a field leader and stepped onto the distributor side. And that was really unique. It didn't really hit me that I had quit my job until it came time to kind of hand back my keys to the office and then kind of on my final day there. And I realized, this is a different move. I kind of saw it as an extension of my role to kind of help move the business forward and to grow and expand and really get at the grassroots where the strategy was happening and kind of working and be there. So I worked there in the field, had a great experience there and had a real eye-opener to what I thought I knew compared to what I did know. Because going out there and recruiting for yourself, winning the incentive trips for yourself, working with other field leaders and having all of the dynamics and the complexity of the field was such a different experience to what I expected. From there, I utilized, I guess, some of the freedom of time that being in the field offers. Published a book. It became a bestseller. It's the book, of course, you see behind me.
Okay, tell me about the book quickly, just before we carry on. What
Yeah,
is it
so
called?
it's really discussing the role, the duality of joy and suffering, and the role that adversity plays in our lives in helping us to discover purpose and meaning, and how we can respond to it in a way that helps us to thrive and become stronger and better, versus constricting and being challenged and overwhelmed by the adversity. So it's really kind of a psychological look at the role of adversity in shaping our mindset, and how mindset kind of interacts with that and helps us to become a better person.
Oh, well
Um,
done.
yeah,
What's it
so
called?
it's called the empowerment paradox, and
Okay.
yeah, it's great. It was an absolute love affair writing that book. I finished it, and most people, I think, as writers, kind of finish and maybe feel tired and ready for a break after that long process of getting the book to publication. I was ready to start all over again, and
Oh, really?
yeah, look forward to doing it. I absolutely loved the experience, and yeah, so I have had, that wonderful journey there, and that gave me an opportunity to get onto the speaker circuit a little bit, and in that space, working, both inside and outside the direct sales space. So I've, had some great clients that I've worked with in hospitality, in government, in kind of the retail sector, in medicine and what have you, and that's just been fantastic to get in all those different spaces, and see some common traits, common struggles, and common challenges, and navigate that with them. So now, kind of my last spot, I guess, my last stop in my career right now is I'm president and co-founder of a fashion brand. And it's, I would call it, it's not a network marketing company, it's a hybrid, that I would call perhaps maybe a super affiliate. So we work with influencers in the influencer marketing space, and provide a really unique space, or reward program for them that is different to what they're used to from affiliate programs, but is, working in fashion is a lot of fun. So
Yes, and some lots of ugly people around you.
yeah, it's a burden. It's a burden. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
somebody's got to do it, though. Hey,
Someone's got
it's
to do it. Yeah, I go to these events, and it's such a different experience from what I'm used to, where, being a president or a field leader or something in that kind of corporate role, or a keynote speaker even, you're kind of suited and booted, and you're at the front of the room, and you're training, you've got formal presentations and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, in the fashion space, my role is totally different when we have, company events. You have women trying clothes on, and you bring a photographer out, and next thing you know, everyone's feeling like $1 million as they're playing the role of model and just having a great experience. And yeah, I'll share a couple of comments for a few minutes, and I need to shut up. It's like, don't spoil the fun. Let us do our thing,
yeah.
and it's a wonderfully immersive experience there, where people just have an absolute blast. So it's, yeah, very different in that sense.
Well, obviously, very nice. I'd like to just take you back. I mean, that's a great run through of what you've done, and you've just glossed over it. I mean, but all
Mm.
of that has been pretty epic stuff that you've done. I mean, this is not um, Mickey Mouse sort of activities. You mentioned, and I think that I'd like to just dive into that. You mentioned this whole court case with
Mm.
Amway in the UK,
Yeah.
and that was quite serious. And as you said, there were some milestones set and some precedents set for the industry as a whole in the UK.
Mm.
But can you maybe give me some background as to what happened there? And just give me a second. I just want to switch off my heater here. It's getting a bit hot in
Sure,
this room.
sure.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so yeah, and it came like a bolt out of the blue. I was in the process of transitioning. At the time, I was, like I said, the general manager for the UK and Ireland, and I was in the process of transitioning out of that role into a European role, responsible for the business opportunity as a whole. Right. So, and so I was actually in Germany at the time. It was in January. I remember this vividly because we've spent all the preceding months talking about, our strategy and our business plan for the coming year. We're getting all that ready. We've had it all approved by my European bosses and what have you. And there's a whole lot of effort and activity that kind of goes into that, right? And so we're at the beginning of the year, getting ready to execute, and I'm at a comms conference in our head office in Germany, and I get a phone call out of the blue, pulling me out of the office, right? And it's my external affairs manager, and she is in a panic, and she's like, "You've got to come back to the office right now." I was like, "What's the deal?" She said, "Your PA is already booking your flights. You go get your bags. We've got a car. You're ready to kind of pick you up. You got to go right back to the UK." The government agency, the Department of Trade and Industry, has come knocking on our door. They've given us these papers, basically saying we're entitled to get any information that we choose and that we want from you. Our intent is to take you to court and shut you down. We're not obliged to tell you why. You can ask us, and we don't even have to answer, right? But you are legally bound to give us all the information that we ask for. So the Department of Trade and Industry, I guess, is similar to the FTC, the US equivalent of the FTC, right? So, and it's really designed, this particular division as a consumer protection body, right? So their goal is, they are typically driven by complaints from consumers about being mistreated or misdirected by companies and brands and what have you. And like I said, they came to us. They have a track record of, I think, winning well over 90% of their court cases when they take people to court. Many companies close before they even get there, because one of the challenges that they gave us in that moment was, while we are going to court, we needed to respond, right, and take fierce action on our end to defend and prepare and interact with them and what have you. And part of that process was we had to stop all business building activity, which meant all recruitment, any business meetings, any communication around kind of the whole compensation plan business model. We could sell product, so you could still sell product and get commissions for products sold, which was reassuring and good on that part. But of course, any network marketing company that says you are not allowed to even sniff around the subject of recruitment, that creates a horrible environment, right? So, and we had to enforce that strictly. It was, if you do any of that, we will take action against your business up to and including termination, and that will not be different if you've been in the business for a long time. If you have a high rank, it is going to be the same for all across the board. Do not cross that line. And
Scary,
and then and gosh, how to become the most hated person in network marketing real fast, right? My phone blew off real quick. I literally had to recharge it from the time that email went out on Friday afternoon, when we made that announcement of what was going on. Literally within a few hours later, I'm needing to recharge my phone because my phone was blowing up, and emotion was high, and those conversations with the field leaders were beyond intense. And so that was really interesting to kind of go through that experience. Part of that whole process, like I said, they didn't tell us what they were wanting to do in terms of, or why, I should say, they were wanting to shut us down, right? They're just saying, our goal is to take you to court. Our intent is to close your business, but we're not telling you what we're going to, what our real issues are. We had to kind of figure that out as we went. So we had our internal legal counsel.
That's actually strange. Why on earth would they not want to tell you what's going on? I mean, it seems a bit ridiculous that they would.
Well, they weren't our
just
friend.
Leave you hanging.
Right? They weren't our friend. Their objective was that they were intent on their objective, which was to shut us down.
Just hostile.
It was hostile. 100% it was. And there was a lot of things that they got wrong about our business. Right? There were some things that they had some valid points on that needed course correction. So we really had to sift through there and understand. I mean, they were wheeling out trolleys, stacks high of information, from everything from, our financial information, compensation plan, marketing materials, emails and minutes from marketing, from management meetings, everything, personal information on distributors and all that kind of stuff. That all of our data, they just took it all, and they had forensic accountants in the office. They set up office in our office. They took a spot, sat down as they went through things, and I'd heard of forensic scientists before, but a forensic accountant, was new to me, right? I was like, And these guys were intelligent. They got their head around the business better than some of our employees understood our business that had been there for a while, right? They drilled down and got it real good. So we had to figure out in that process, what is it, based on the questions they're asking, what are their concerns, what are their issues, what are their objectives, what's their design, and how do we counter that and respond. So during that whole year, we had these guys here preparing for a court case. We redesigned the compensation plan. We made changes to our business model. We adjusted some of our pricing strategy. We made so many changes that we had to, with that terrible cloud hanging over us, we had to end every single distributor's contract and ask them to sign in under a new one.
Wow.
Right. Which, my goodness me, I mean, can you imagine the
fall off must have been catastrophic.
Yeah. Well, you know what was fantastic? We had a relaunch event, and we relaunched the business before the court case. We even invited the DTI to come along, right? We reached out to them and said, we're having this relaunch event. We'd like you to come along, check it out. We're an open book, right? Come participate. And we had over 4,000 people show up at that event when we put it on. And we pulled out all the stops, and it was fantastic. And I'm pleased to say, with that experience, we had some of our corporate counsel from the States who have participated in other, market crises and revitalization or kind of turnarounds and things. And they were like, this was the best kind of relaunch event that they'd ever experienced.
Oh, wow.
It was
fantastic.
So we had a good result coming out the other side. I think we did come out stronger, better, fitter for it. But it was great. I mean, I was in my early 20s, my late 20s when that happened. So I was really quite wet behind the ears as a young, new corporate executive. And boy, did that give me an education. I came out the other side of that with, the rose-colored glasses clearly off, and a great sense of pride at my partnership with Amway and my relationship with them. Many of my colleagues that I've worked with when I was there, I remain good friends with to this day, and we still are in touch and do a few things together. And they're just a phenomenal group of professionals. And but it gave great insight as to, there are some things that we kind of take with us in the direct selling space, right? In network marketing, where we go, well, look, this is just the nature of the beast, right? This is the wart in the back that we've got to deal with, because that's just our industry. That's what we have to work with. And this is a problem, and we don't like this particular behavior, but it's kind of the cultural element of what we're in. And it's like, actually, you can change that if you want. It just depends on how badly you want to,
or how badly you're forced to.
Or how badly you're forced to, yeah. And this was one of those situations where it's like, it actually kind of gave the company a moment in time where it's like, there are some things that we've wanted to tackle for a long time, but culture gets in the way, right? And now all of a sudden you've got the chance to go, let's put a few things right that we need to, because this gives us that moment to do that, and have some understanding from the field on that point. So that it actually it opened up some great doors for some positive change, as well as an opportunity to fight and stand for what we know is right.
Can you tell me some of the things that you guys were doing wrong that you wanted to change? What were the kind of key things that needed to be changed there?
Well, I think, there's a couple of things that kind of stand out. One is, you don't want to abdicate too much the message in the sponsoring journey, right? And in the field training experience. It's very easy to, if you don't have a strong argument to defend, right? And we do, by the way, I want to parenthetically emphasize this, is we do. You've got to be prepared to respond when the argument comes, because often what I've experienced, I've worked in a lot, close to half a dozen different direct sales companies now, different MLMs. There is often the argument that you don't really understand what we do because you're not a distributor. You've not recruited people. You've not grown the business. You've not done what we do. You get your check every month. You no matter what, whether sales are up or down, doesn't affect you. It affects us, right? If you have a bad launch, or if you have this thing go wrong, it doesn't affect your pocket. It affects ours. And there is some truth in that, right? But at the same time, if you turn around and fully embrace that argument and say, okay, you lead the message, you tell us what the field should be saying, you do all the field training, you're going to miss out on really crafting and defining your identity as a brand. Yeah. And I think that's important to get the balance. I'm not saying you take all the power back. What I'm saying is there's a shared responsibility, but the company needs to have real strong ownership of their identity, who they are, what they're about, what they stand for, and how that message is transferred into the field training experience. I think that certainly plays a big part. One thing that we did change aggressively in some elements was our pricing strategy. So we did adjust the prices of some of our products to be more approachable for a retail environment, right? So, one of the challenges that we see that regulators have concerns with across the board in direct selling is you don't have enough retail activity, right? You've got, they want to see more authentic customer interaction, right? More customer sales. They want to see higher numbers of customers in ratio to distributors and so on. And one of the problems I think a lot of network marketing companies face is they have a situation where it's like you can buy it at retail here, or you can become a distributor and you can get it at a wholesale price. And unfortunately that blurs the lines in terms of who is a customer and who is a distributor, because sometimes customers will come in as distributors simply to get a better price. And that was one thing that we needed to fix a little bit, was we didn't properly, or to the best of our ability, we didn't segment our data as we should have prior to that, in terms of these are our distributors, these are our customers. It crossed the line a little bit. And the problem with that was it meant that when it comes to saying what's the average income for a distributor, well, you've got thousands of customers in there that are under the umbrella of a distributor, but they're acting and performing, behaving in every sense of the term like a customer.
Discount hunters.
Yeah. And as a consequence of that, it compromises your data, right? And so then what's the average income for a distributor? It doesn't start to look too pretty. So then it helped us in that stance to better segment our data and understand and differentiate. We're going to target customers here. We're going to target distributors there.
And how did you target the customers? How did you change that mindset to say, well, we're not just signing up discount hunters? Because it's the easy way to go. It's, listen, if you become a distributor, you get a discount. Why didn't you just become a distributor? How did you actually change that mindset to say to the guys, hey, listen, we need 70% of our clients to be customers and not be in the network at all. And we need to go after those. How did you guys do that?
There's a couple of things we did. First of all, our communication changed there, right? Internal communication. When you're sending out email blasts to your distributor base, if you're understanding that you're now differentiating a little bit more towards customers and distributors, then you can give different messages, different marketing messages to each audience, right? So certainly from a communication perspective, that started to change so that you're not annoying customers with distributor related content, right? So the content realignment, I think, was an important part. One thing that we did in the UK to address this specifically was we changed some of the requirements in the compensation plan, where you had to get 5 customers before you were able to recruit anyone.
Okay.
And there was a training program that we put people through at the front end to say, okay, if you wanted to become a distributor, go through this training course. And it was simple. It wasn't complicated, but it did make sure that fundamental messages about who we are, what we're about, what the message is in terms of the business opportunity, kind of, like I said, kind of claiming some of that ground there in clarifying, it's not get rich quick. It's not easy money. It's something that you work hard for. You need to have a balance of customers and balance your business, so on and so forth. And it kind of just helped navigate a little bit of the fundamentals and basics of what you're signing up for as a distributor and as an Amway entrepreneur. So that certainly helped. And then get some customers under your belt before you start going out to recruit, to demonstrate that you're serious, you understand what this is about, you get the balance right, and go from there. And I think things like that certainly helped realign and get things refocused.
Yeah, I was involved. Obviously, I'm exploring the industry because it's what I do.
Mm,
And I got involved with Amway just to see how everything worked. And I don't know about in the UK because I did it back in South Africa. And one of the challenges that I saw that they had is they had a group called Network 21
mm,
in their organization, and they would teach their network to say, listen, are you interested in a business opportunity? If the guy said yes, is it Amway? They'd say, no, it's not Amway.
mm,
Come to the meeting and I'll talk to you about it. Then you get to the meeting and they pitch Network 21 to you, which of course is Amway. And you kind
mm.
of feel a bit hoodwinked by the whole thing. And it's like they won't give you any information. There's no transparency about it. And I think that did Amway a tremendous amount of harm, because when you look at their products, Amway has got some of the most superb products
Mm.
I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
when you hear the stories behind the products, how those products are developed, the quality that those products represent, you think to yourself, why aren't they just focusing on the product? Because I mean, the business has got a massive range of products and they're excellent, and they're actually not badly priced at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, people don't often realize that. Yeah, Amway, with its size, is actually the largest supplier of nutritional supplements in the world. Right?
Yeah.
And they own the whole process. They own the farms where the ingredients are harvested, and all the way through to production, manufacturing, and distribution. Right? It's incredible. One of the top 5 cosmetics brands, on the planet, was Artistry. So yeah, I mean, they're incredible products, absolutely excellent. Um, and yeah, but the message is, this is the big battle, isn't it? Is why do people join network marketing? What is the motive for saying yes and getting in? Certainly, from a product perspective, there's plenty to sell there and plenty to talk about. But when you do have a culture, which is very common, I don't want to make this Amway specific. This is, in my opinion, kind of a network marketing issue,
Yeah.
right? Is when the culture is predominantly all about, it's heavily focused on recruitment, right? And what the real pitch there is, the aspiration of what you can become and what you can achieve with the compensation plan and being an entrepreneur. People are far more excited to talk about that than they are about talking about some of the nuances of a particular ingredient and formulation of a product and why that is better than something else. So I think the message from the front end at the beginning, is certainly, you know a challenge if you've not got the balance right in leading with product and the opportunity, having that balance with those two messages.
Yeah.
It's very easy when you've got a lot of people, when you're recruiting like crazy, and the guys in Amway are master recruiters, right? They know how to do that, like their hair's on fire. They just go crazy, and they're excellent. I think they're kind of industry leaders there. So when you're so good at that, it's very easy to lead with your strengths, versus go, we need to get that balance. And I think that investigation, that court case, like I said, I'm really proud of the fact we came out, won the court case, and turned it around. And but I do think it gave an opportunity to say we've got to get the balance right in our messaging, and getting you know getting it a more even playing field in talking about product and getting customer focused. And you know what, retailing and selling, right? A lot of people go, oh, no, hey, I'm not a salesman. Don't refer to me as a salesman. That's a dirty word. It's actually an honorable word.
Yeah.
Let's correct that. Well, all of us are in sales, regardless of what your business is. Even when you're not in business, when I'm at home, my wife agreed to marry me because I gave a good sales pitch, right? And I persuaded her. My kids come to me when they wanted a dog. They went through a fantastic sales pitch in convincing me and persuading me that this was the best decision for our family, right? Everything, whether you're a child, an adult, in business, out of business, whatever it is, sales is a part of our life, right? And we need
And
to
that's
look at
what people miss
that.
out on. My son said to me he didn't want to be in sales. He said, "Oh no,
Mm,
I never want to be in sales." Because he was asking me what should he do. I said, "Well, sales is the place that I would
mm,
go. It's the highest paid job in the world. If you
yeah.
want to make money, that's a good place to be." And he said, "No, I don't like that idea." I said, "You know what selling is? Selling is having a product that you are absolutely passionate about, finding somebody and discovering whether they have a need for your product. And
Mm,
if they have a need for your product, showing them how they can take ownership of it.
Yeah.
And that's what selling is. I said to him that if you are selling something you don't believe in, then you're a con artist.
Mm.
So I think fundamentally, and that's what I mean, I know it's not about Amway because all of the MLM companies have the same problem that you're
Yeah.
having. But with Amway, I mean, take that Nutrilite product, and that's their
The nutritional.
yes. Now I
Mm.
watched the video on that thing when I was there. It blew me away. The fact
Yeah.
that they use spiders instead of herbicides and pesticides, and that
Mm.
it's 24 hours in a cold press before the product is in there, and the efficacy is like way higher than anything else in the market. And when you test it against the stuff in the shops, it just blows everything away.
Yeah.
Now, when you understand just what goes into that, I mean, it should be a simple thing to talk to people. You've got to get that
Yeah.
knowledge in, you've got to use the product, and then you've got to
Yeah.
go out there and tell people about it. Then it's easy to sell because
Yeah.
it's so amazing.
Yeah. And I certainly think in the environment that we're in now, because the world has changed dramatically, right, over the last few years with technology and the information age. In the world that we live in now, when you really lead with superior product, then my goodness, you've got a story to tell and you can reach so many more people when you learn to use technology to your advantage, right? And that's one of the reasons why I love the space that I'm in now, where I said it's not network marketing, it's what I call like a super affiliate program, right? But we work with influencers and and we've made it. It's you can join our program. It takes 60 seconds to get going. Immediately, you've got your discount codes, and they don't have to change all that much in their behavior when we've got our fitness influencers. But we have kind of active wear and kind of lifestyle wear and what have you. So we've got all these fitness influencers that are joining us that have got hundreds of thousands of followers. They're online every day creating content, and it takes them 60 seconds to get a code from us. They put our gear on. They keep doing what they're doing already. They just do it in our brand, and then they drop their code in, and people click on it. Nice and easy to make a purchase. And it's interesting when you can utilize technology that way and connect with different audiences and demographics. There is so much fun to be had, and such a great opportunity for where this industry can go. So.
Look, just before we go, because I'm quite keen to get into that side of things, is where the industry is going. I just want to last thing on the Amway thing. What do you think it cost Amway to fight that case?
Oh gosh, million. It's a privately owned company, so I can't give too much, I guess, financial information away in terms of what they spent. But I do know this: the commitment from the company was, we will do whatever it takes in order to win. And whatever it costs, and one of the responsibilities that I had for that whole relaunch was kind of going through just overseeing the relaunch event itself, right, and managing and building that out. And we gave them we sat down and was like, let's identify every reason why someone would say no, they can't come, and eliminate that problem. So I can't come because I've got kids. Okay, we're going to have a creche facility there. You can bring your children. We're going to have professionals there that can watch your children while you can go around. You can bring your children. Oh, I can't afford it because I'm going to have to, spend money on food. We're going to have a cafeteria. We'll have money. We'll have all the food. Well, it's going to be a catered event. Don't worry about it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It was like every single reason to say no. We countered it and addressed it, and we pulled out all the stops. So it was definitely in the millions that was spent. And I think that was one of the reasons why some companies don't succeed in that moment, right? They don't, it's hard to pause the business, and say, we're not going to recruit. We are not having any business meetings right now for the indefinite future. Right. And in the meantime, we're going to completely reinvent, major aspects of the business and spend all of this money on legal costs and so on, and reinventing, some aspects of the business to resolve some concerns, but strengthen areas where we can come out stronger and better. And to spend that amount of money and to have that kind of a pause on business activity, most companies can't handle it. They
I was going to say, what would happen to a lesser company? They just be gone.
They wouldn't make it. They wouldn't even make it to court, right? They would just fold. And that's why I'm kind of grateful that moment that it happened to Amway, because they had the deep pockets. They're privately owned. They're very, very solid financially, and they could afford to say, no matter what, we're going to win this. we're going to come out the other side better, bigger, stronger, right? Which is what they did. And when the court case was on, there were other companies, had people representatives in the courtroom watching, because they knew that these weren't Amway specific concerns; these were industry issues, right? So it's like, how is this going to affect us? What do we do about it? How do we respond? And so it was good that you could have a company that was as strong as Amway to go through that and say, okay, let's share what we've learned coming out the other side. What can we do as an industry to strengthen, sharpen the saw, and do better, and not tolerate some of the things that we go, like I said before, it's kind of the wart in our back. We've got to deal with that. Actually, no, we can get rid of that if we want. Let's make some changes here. And,
so the industry as a whole actually owes Amway a huge debt of gratitude. Huge.
I think so. Whenever, regulators aren't always friendly towards our industry, right? And they don't always have the same positive perception that we do, right? And sometimes their concerns are justified with what they want to do and address and change and work on. Sometimes I think they can be a little more robust than they need to be, right? Or they're acting a little bit more robust than they need to be. But I think whenever a company goes to court and wins, it's a win not just for the company but for the industry, right? Because it gives a chance to clarify misconceptions. That was the thing. Like I said, there were some things that they got right, but there were a lot of things that they also got wrong. And that court case gave us the chance to clarify, to defend, and to stand up for misunderstandings and give some correction there that did everyone a good. So I was grateful for that.
No, 100%. I only have the highest admiration for companies like Amway. I really do. So, and again, huge debt of gratitude goes out from the entire industry to people like that. Yeah. So let's move on, because one of the things that you talked about, which I'm quite keen to pick up on, is that you went from being an executive to being in the field as a distributor. That must have been quite a shock.
Yeah. It was interesting. One of my first observations that I shared with the field and with the company, right? Because I was still very close. So I reported directly into the chairman and CEO. So he and I, would speak quite openly about my experience there. And I said, it feels a lot like I've just jumped into a big pot of vegetable soup. That's kind of what it feels like. Right? I said, because in the office, you have a board meeting, or you have an executive meeting, a management meeting, and you've got all of your direct reports kind of sitting around the table, and you share strategy and updates, ideas and plans, and say, okay, we want to go in this direction. And sometimes there's disagreement, right? And it's good to have that disagreement, to tussle and to wrestle things out and get things on the right page. But if there is not consensus, eventually the person that's chairing the meeting says, okay, we've all talked, we've all thrashed out the ideas, and based on that, we've all had our voice. This is the direction we're going to go, right? And because he chairs the meeting and he's the man in charge, people get behind that, and then it becomes collectively a unanimous voice, right? So, before the idea is executed, you wrestle and you go to town and you fight your corner and you defend whatever points you need to, and until you get to the best outcome. And even then, you may have disagreement, but this is the direction we're moving forward with. And so you get on board and you support it as if it was your own, right? And that's what you get in the corporate world.
Yes.
In the field, you don't get that, right? Everyone is paid based on what their business does for them. And I cannot emphasize this enough. When results are directly tied to your pocket, emotion changes. There is a different emotional temperature in that regard. So that makes it really interesting. And even though you can get together with a group of leaders and you can have a bunch of diamonds or whatever you want to call them from your respective comp plan, right? But your top ranking leaders can all be there, and you can have a field leader that's at the top of the tree, but you can also have people that go, well, I disagree. I want to do it this way. I want to do it that way. And unless you've got really strong leadership in the field at the top that have really solid structures and real strong ties, that can become really disjointed very fast. And so really strong field leadership that is active, engaged, that understands, all the way through. They didn't retire years ago and have a kind of a faded voice, right, of authority. They did it years before, and let me tell you what I think now. It's like you've got to have that strength all the way through, and so it was really interesting from that perspective to go. I've got people that have in my organization that have been around for a long time. They know what they're doing. They've got different opinions. They want to go in different directions, and I can't turn around like I did when I was in the office and say, "Thank you for your opinion. I like what you're saying. We're going to go in this direction." Right? They go, "Thanks for saying that. I'm going to go in this direction." And that's quite interesting to kind of deal with that and to understand. It's a little bit more chaotic than you expect. And another thing, on that point is that I worked with some people that I helped rank advance, and get to these mid-level leadership positions. As an example, I've got a couple of people in mind. And when I was in the office, a lot of the time I used to think, you're this rank, therefore you should know X, Y, and Z. This should be your insight. This should be your level of capability because you're at this rank in the business. And there are plenty of people that rank advance get there that don't know how they did it, got there with a stroke of good fortune and good timing. Or maybe they worked really hard, they got there, but they don't believe that they're leaders yet, even though they've got the rank. And so they've got the rank and the title, and they've built the business, but in their heart, I'm still a lower rank. Right? And what does that mean? It means that that's how they're going to act. That's how they're going to perform. And so you might have an organization that's got a leader there that's rank advanced, and from the company side, you're going, this is great. But actually, they've got a whole journey of becoming that they haven't quite tapped into yet, that is going to compromise them over time if they don't learn to step up and step into that role that they've just earned. So that was really insightful for me to see all of those dynamics of feeling like they're leaders, not feeling like they're leaders, being connected, being disconnected, and everything in between, being active, being passive, as leaders, but all having strong opinions, and every decision still links to my pocket because I get paid only on results. And so my opinion is going to be very strong regardless of where I'm at in that process. And that was really quite interesting to see, when you're right in the middle of it all.
Yes, and I've often said that the executives should actually go and spend a year in the field before they actually start their MLM businesses.
Yeah,
because
yeah, I agree. Yeah, when I jumped in, and I was like, I didn't fully appreciate. I jumped in maybe with a little bit of overconfidence, right? Because I thought, hey, I've been president of the company. I've worked for a couple of multi-billion-dollar organizations. I've been on the trade associations and all that kind of thing. I think I know a thing or two. I've been in 30 different countries working with distributors, right? So I get this. But it wasn't until I had to go out and recruit someone myself that I understood the effort index in relation to what I'm getting for it, right? And to go through that whole process and go, oh gosh, we're disconnected in this part of our story, or this part of the journey of the life cycle of a new distributor is underserved, and they're not quite getting the outcome here. There's so much effort that goes into this part, but they're not getting the return here. How do we manage that? And my goodness, it became a real eye opener. And I reached the same conclusion, Richard. I was like, why do we say that corporate staff can't be distributors? It's like, what a great education that would be if anyone that was field facing, and maybe even those that are not, just to say, as a part of your induction when you join our company, I'm going to want you to be, for a couple of weeks, have an experience being a distributor. Get into their shoes. You may have a miserable time and you go, hey, I don't want to be a distributor. I just want to do marketing. Or I work in finance. Why do I want to do that, right? It's like, so that you understand our people and understand our course. Because we're building an environment here that is designed to provide opportunity for aspiring entrepreneurs. Understand their path and their journey. Empathize. If we can have greater empathy as corporate executives, what a difference that can make in the relationships where we have understanding and compassion when they go, oh, but it's really hard. And go, yeah, but well, you're getting paid really well, so sort it out. I was like, no, let's understand a little more. I think That would be great for everyone that comes into that space.
100% agree. And I've heard, I mean, I've sat in many, many boardrooms, you know, as a consultant to the industry. I've sat in many boardrooms where the management team is around the table. And one of the things that I hear on a regular basis is that the field is just lazy. They bone idle, you know.
Yeah,
But if you haven't been out there and if you haven't discovered just how tough it can be and how much rejection you face and how difficult it can be to overcome that, and if you don't have the right training and the right backing and the right leadership, just how tough it can be out in the field. If you
yeah,
don't have an appreciation for that, how do you actually manage a company that's doing MLM?
exactly. And I'll tell you what, I've really felt that in bucket loads as present co-founder of a startup, right? Because I don't know of any other brand that would say, because in network marketing, you've got your distributor, which is a customer of sorts to the brand, right? In the sense of, we want to attract them, they engage with us, we have a relationship with them, and so on. So they are a customer of sorts. Then you've got the retail customer, right? So, but you want to attract and work with both. But in what other world has any other significant brand of value ever said, when have I ever heard Coca-Cola say sales are down this year because our customers are lazy?
Good point.
It never happens.
No.
And the reason for that is simple. The ownership and responsibility of growth, even though the distributors are out there hustling and making things work, the ownership is 100% the company's, right? It is, if they aren't doing what you want them to do, then you don't point the finger of blame. You do something different so that they will. It's I remember once. I remember once, a leader saying to me, is recruitment an action or a reaction? He said, it's a reaction. He said, you're putting together, incentive programs like recruitment is an action. You do this and then something follows. He's like, it's a reaction. People recruit as a consequence or a byproduct of the emotions that they feel. When they feel excited, when they have hope in what lies ahead, when they have confidence and conviction in what is coming, when they have all of that emotion about the future, as a byproduct of that hope and that aspiration, they recruit. It's a response to the emotional temperature of your field. If your field are not feeling that, that will be reflected in recruitment activities.
100%.
Right? So if they're not behaving the way that you want, you've got to look at what is the emotional temperature and how do I change that? And exactly. if you're in a mature business, it's difficult because sometimes the emotional temperature is based on history. And let me tell you what happened, with the last guy that was in your job, right? Let me tell you about what this guy did before. And let me tell you, back in the day, we had this and it was really fantastic. And if we had that again, right? And it's very easy for people to get kind of hooked into the past. You've got to create an environment where the past becomes irrelevant.
Or the person's come from another network marketing company and they now think that whatever that company was doing, which they left, you should now be doing because it's obviously the better way of doing it, or
and what worked for one company doesn't always work for another. This is an art as much as it is a science, right? So you really got to look at who is my target audience, who defines who we are, because certainly I've seen it going from working in different companies and consulting and what have you, is the dynamic, the culture, and the type of people that come into one company can be very different to another. They are attracted to the product range, to the story, to the owners, to the people that brought them in, to the branding, to the style, to all of that type of stuff. There's, how you present yourself will determine who you attract. And but I certainly feel it as I look at my brand that I'm leading now, is I go, if I'm not getting a certain behavior, I don't point the finger of blame at my influencer or my brand ambassador. I'm looking at it going, what are we not doing in order for them to give this response, right? If they're not giving me the result that I seek, what do I need to do different, exactly. in order to change that? And I just think that's really important. And Now I feel, gosh, being a co-founder and what have you, I feel the beating heart of that brand every single day of my life. I think about it when I first wake up. I think about it when I go to bed at night, and every waking moment in between, it's on my mind. And as a consequence of that, when you're getting certain results or not getting certain results, I feel it, and I can feel it like a heartbeat, where it's like, okay, something's not right now. And my partner and I, we talk together. She's the greatest business partner I could ever have hoped for. And we kind of thrash it out and say, okay, do we pivot now? Do we evaluate more, and wait and see? Is this just a moment in time? Do we need to be more patient? And you've got to really kind of feel through the results that you're getting. But when you're absolutely in love with what you're doing, that happens very naturally.
Makes it a lot easier. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you found this session informative. But before you leave, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify. And remember, never leave the good stuff till later.